Hey everybody and welcome to another episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay Season 2, Episode 23, and we've got the biggest of games to talk about this week. I am incredibly excited, incredibly nervous, worried. I feel dread as an Eagles fan. There's just... The thing they don't tell you about playing in playoff games is that they're not enjoyable, regardless of what team you support. It's just very nerve-wracking. It's a good problem to have. That I'll concede. As always, I have bovadasportsbook.com open in front of me. We're going to use Bovada for all of the lines for this week. And I'll tell you, I considered breaking format this week because there's only one NFL game to talk about. I considered breaking format and turning this into In Pursuit of a Prop Bet for 1 week. But it was brought to my attention that that's not what we do here, and that would be dumb. So I didn't. Just seems weird that we're going to talk a little bit about football and then we're going to talk about the new backcourt in Dallas with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving playing it together. They'll make their debut at 10 o'clock tonight, Eastern time. Let's dig right into it. The Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs. The Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams 14-3. Incredibly even matchup. Really about as even as you could possibly get. Both teams even have an all-pro Kelsey on the roster. We're showing the slightest of advantages towards Kansas City, but I think these metrics are factoring in healthy Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how healthy either quarterback's going to be. And that is really what is going to determine this game, I think. Is Mahomes' ankle good enough so that he can move around, he can escape that Philadelphia defensive line that caused so many problems for opposing offenses all season? Well, the counterpoint to that is how healthy is Jalen Hurts on the Philadelphia side? Is Jalen Hurts going to be the MVP caliber player? And by the way, congratulations to Patrick Mahomes, who won MVP last night. Is Jalen going to be that MVP caliber player that we saw before he got hurt in week 14? Or is he going to be this, I don't want to say tentative, but held back player by zapping some of his athleticism with that injury? It's the variables that go into predicting a very difficult to predict game. The line currently sits exactly where it started, -1.5 at Bovada. And it's a scary number. Eagles favorite, obviously. It's a scary number. I thought this would probably get to like -2.5 in the Eagles' favor. We'll see a little bit closer to kickoff time, which is about 53 hours from now. We'll see if it moves at all. I wonder when the last time there's been a Super Bowl where the line didn't move at all. That is, again, a testament to how closely matched these two teams are. With that said, let's dig into it a little bit. It's such a scary game, man. Kansas City, 413.6 yards per game to Philadelphia's 389.1. KC better on third downs, 48.7% to Philadelphia's 45.9%. KC scores 29.2 points per game to Philadelphia's 28.1 points per game. KC gives up 21.7 points per game to Philadelphia's 20.2. So there's a 0.9. Not many major injuries on either side. And there's been no spread movement. That is the crazy thing. Kansas City technically is and the away team here, and as the away team, they're 4-5 on the season. As an away underdog, they're 1-1. Philly technically the home team, though again this game will be played in Arizona. Eagles 8-3 on the season as the home team, 10-8 as the favorite. 8-3 is the home favorite. With that said, Kansas City the away as an away dog, 1-0. So what can we take away from any of this? That it's going to be a extraordinarily close game. I will say against similar opponents in 2022, the Eagles were 5-0 and KC was 4-1. Casey's one loss came to Indianapolis, who both teams played. They lost 17-20. Philadelphia beat Indy 17-16. So again, this game is very close. These teams are very well matched up. Can the Philadelphia Eagles pass rush get to Mahomes? I think so. I think so. It's the best I can do here. I'm so scared about this game. But I tend to, and I hate doing this, I tend to go Philadelphia. And I think that's where we're going to be. I wouldn't even dream, not for 1 second, would I dream of taking this against the line. Why would anybody? Eagles -1.5, which represents -110 at Bovada, versus the money line, which represents -120. With two teams matched up this closely, I'm gonna 100% take the money line every single time, as I am wont to do for anyone who listens to the show. So that is gonna be our first pick, Eagles money line, and it's now official. With that said, I do feel a little bit better about the over-under here, because I figure, well, let's get the over-under pick so we can actually pick 2 NFL things today rather than 1. These teams score a ton of points. The over-under 51. And it's good that it's not a 51.5. Over-under 51. These two teams do combine to score 57.3 points per game. They only give up 41.7. But I feel like this is an offensive Super Bowl. The last 5 have gone under. The last time a Super Bowl has gone over was Philadelphia versus New England in 2018. I feel good about the over. Although I will also say I'm gonna hedge that a little bit. I do like the Eagles' odds more in a game that goes under. However, I do think this is going to go over. That's going to be our second pick at Bovada, bringing our parlay 2 picks in up to plus 250. EAGLES Eagles. Let's go. All right. Moving on to the things that stress me less. We're going to talk about the NBA for these last 6 picks. First game up on the docket, the San Antonio Spurs versus the Detroit Pistons in Detroit. That game isn't that fun. That game is not up. So, we're going to move on. That game has been pulled since we looked at it earlier. Worth pointing out, the trade deadline just happened, and San Antonio does have an inordinate amount of players who are out or day-to-day. So we will venture on. I loved Detroit in this one. If you can get Detroit money line, or honestly plus the line, I'm okay with it. Let's go to our next game here, the Phoenix Suns versus the Indiana Pacers. This game is still available. All right. We're showing the Pacers are going to win this one a little bit more often than not, but I think the Suns are going to be emboldened. I think the Suns are going to be emboldened by the acquisition of Kevin Durant, the biggest move on an insane trade deadline day. Obviously will not be in the lineup tonight. Neither will, more likely than not, TJ Warren or Darius Bazley, also traded to Phoenix. Devin Booker's day-to-day, though I think he's probably going to play. The Pacers acquired Jordan Nwora and George Hill. Neither one expected to play tonight, but things can change. Neither one of them is going to impact the game too much. Phoenix, this was Devin Booker's team up until a second ago. You know, Kevin Durant changes everything. Kevin Durant makes this team a legitimate title contender once again. They don't have to give up DeAndre Ayton. They do give up Mikal Bridges. They give up Cam Johnson and a bunch of draft picks. Brooklyn's in a weird spot, but another conversation for another time. For the Pacers, this is Team Tyrese. Halliburton leads the team in scoring at 19.8 and assists at 10.2. Good team. They have been much more competitive with Halliburton in the lineup than without. They will have him tonight. Don't think it's going to be enough at the end of the day. We're going to take the Suns money line, plus 125 at Bovada, our third pick in this parlay. And it's going to bring our number up to plus 687, already well above where we were last week. Well above where we were last week. Let's go to the next game on this schedule. And I fear it's not. This also got pulled. This is going to be the theme of the day, I think. This is going to be the theme of the day, is that games are getting pulled left and right because we don't know who's going to be in the lineup. I was going to go Hornets versus Celtics, and it has been pulled since we last looked at it. By the way, really, really like the Celtics to cover whatever the line is there. Let's go to the Utah Jazz and the Toronto Raptors, which is available. All right, let's do the darn thing here. And look, Spurs Pistons. As I said, love the Pistons. This is Super Bowl week, ladies and gentlemen. Spurs Pistons, the first game we were talking about. I love the Pistons, minus the 5.5. We'll take that. At Bovada, our fourth pick. Now, coming fast and furious all of a sudden. Fast and Furious Super Bowl edition. Our parlay all the way up to plus 1403. Let's go. Raptors Jazz. We're showing that Toronto's going to win this one about 2/3 of the time. OG Anunoby will be out for the Raptors tonight after not being traded at the deadline. Jakob Poeltl acquired, unlikely to play. Utah trades for Russell Westbrook. No, it's very unlikely that Russell Westbrook's ever going to play 1 second in a Utah Jazz uniform, though if they are legitimately trying to tank for Victor Wembanyama, then letting Russ do his thing might not be the worst strategy. This lineup is going to be an interesting one for the Jazz tonight. I would think Sexton is the point guard. Clarkson's day-to-day, so maybe it's Bolmero, maybe it's Tucker at the 2, Markkanen, Olynyk, and Walker Kessler rounding out the front court. This is going to be a bad team for the rest of the year, and that is unquestionably by design. For Toronto, they're actually buyers, not sellers at the deadline, which was unexpected. They bring Jakob Poeltl into the fold. This is Pascal Siakam's team. 25 points per game leads the way. And I have to think Raptors are going to win this one big. They're trending up. Jazz intentionally trending down. We're going to take Raptors -7, minus 110 at Bovada for our fifth pick of this parlay. And it makes you wonder, is this the direction you go for an over-under? Because we are going to have to fill in an over-under. But I'll tell you what, I think I like this next game a little bit more, and it is this game right here. The Houston Rockets in Miami to take on the Heat. Rockets, 13-42 on the season. Bad team. Heat, 30-25. Better team, not great. Kevin Porter Jr. out for the Rockets tonight, as well as John Wall and Danny Green acquired at the trade deadline. Hard to think either one of those guys is ever going to suit up for the Houston Rockets. For Miami, Kyle Lowry's out, Oladipo's out, Duncan Robinson is out, but Bam and Jimmy are there, and that should be more than enough. This is Jalen Green's team in Houston. I mentioned 13-42 in last place in the Southwest Division. Jalen Green's team, 22 points per game. They need a point guard. And it's not John Wall. They need a real point guard. They need a distributor, and it's going to settle this team down quite a bit. I think maybe they hope it's Scoot Henderson, but got to get lucky there. For Miami, first place in the Southeast Division. Jimmy's 22 points per game leads the team. Kyle Lowry's 5.3 assists leads the way. These guys score a ton of points. And this is a big line, the 220. But I think we hit it here. I do. I think Miami is going to win pretty big. I don't know if it's the 12. The 12 scares me, so we're going to go minus 650 for the money line at Bovada for our next pick here. But in addition to that, I do think that we're going to play an over And we'll take the over 220 minus 110 at Bovada for our next pick. And that's going to bring our parlay all the way up to plus 6222, plus 6,222 on a $100 wager. 7 picks in. Our final game of this parlay this week, the Dallas Mavericks in Sacramento to take on the Sacramento Kings. It's a fun game. It's a surprisingly fun game. Mavericks won 4 of their last 5 and acquired Kyrie Irving to pair with Luka Doncic. As I mentioned, this will be that duo's first game together. As Luka now listed as out. That's interesting, because earlier today we saw that Luka was going to play, but yeah, he's listed as out. However, CBS does say expected to return tonight. I'm going to trust CBS. I'm going to assume that CBS is correct, because I've seen this in other places as well, and that other sites just haven't caught up yet. So we're going to assume Kyrie and Luka playing together tonight for the first time in front of their new owner Mark Cuban. It's a fun roster. Imagine if they had kept Porzingis. It'd be a really good team right now. But what are we going to do? The Mavericks 30-26 to the Kings 31-23. Mavericks second place in the Southwest Division. Prior to the trade deadline, it was all Luka. Led the way in points at 33.4 and assists at 8.2. Neither of those numbers probably change at the end of the day, although I suspect, in terms of him being the leader, but I do suspect they'll both drop a little bit with the Kyrie usage coming into play. Sacramento has won their last 2 games, both against the Rockets, so take what you will from that. De'Aaron Fox leading the way, 24.2 points per game. Center Domantas Sabonis having an incredible season, probably the 3rd best center in basketball this year, leads the way with 7 assists per game. Super talented basketball player. However, while the numbers are showing us that the Kings probably win this game, a little bit more likely not to win, it is in fact the Mavericks, the favorites at Bovada. And that, it's hard for me to imagine that there's not going to be, they're playing with a little something extra tonight. I'm going to go Mavs. We'll go money line minus 120 as opposed to the minus 110, because the game's not going to end in a tie, I can assure you that. Mavericks money line minus 120 at Bovada. Our final pick of this parlay this week, and we're going to end with a good number. We're ending plus 11,491. $100 wins $11,491. As I say every week, and as it says on the bottom of the screen if you're watching on YouTube, thank you if you are. Thank you for your support. If you are watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or the podcast platform of your choice, rate, review, do all that stuff. Thank you so much. But as I always say, hitting a parlay is incredibly hard. Take the picks you like from this, combine them with your own, drop the ones you don't, do whatever the heck you want to do so that you feel comfortable. And let's all just have a little fun. Let's enjoy the Super Bowl. That's going to be it for this week's episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay. I have been Chris Horwedel. I thank you so much for watching, for listening, for your support, and we'll see you back here next week.